Good morning, everyone. My name is Jared. This is my channel, Mazda B3K. And today we're going to be looking at window seals, particularly the ones that actually go around the glass. On my 1989 Ford F-350 named Bertha, and her seals are just about torched. So I'm going to show you how do you replace these, and I'll also show you how to replace the door seal that goes behind that. It's the same basic process for the back doors as it will be for the front doors, though you do have to deal with the wing windows up front, which are going to be outside the scope of this video because the wing window seals are really annoying to replace. Without further ado, let's get started. First things first, we need to take this door card off. And to do that, we've got some screws that we need to take care of. We got one of them up here. See, there's some glass in there. I think at some point in the past, somebody broke one of these windows. I keep finding bits of glass everywhere. And then down here, you don't need to really take these out. Actually, you don't need to take these out at all, but if you ever want to remove this lower panel, there are 1, 2, 3, and then there's a 4 and a 5 that are under the plastic of the upper door card. So, let's go ahead and get this knocked out. All sorts of fun things sitting over here. So we get this screw out. Like so. And the other thing that we got to do next is we got to take the crank off. And that is actually not that hard. Take a trim tool, kind of like this. And you're going to want to kind of get under it. Peel that top layer away. And what that's going to reveal inside of here is a Torx. In particular, it's a T20. So let's get that out. And once you get it loose, it'll just come right off, just like that. All right, now we got to lift the card. All right, lifting the card is a little bit tricky because you can't see it because I already did this on 2 doors already, one up front, one in the back. But there's a bunch of push pins that go around this card. They need to pop out first. As you can see on mine, they're basically completely worn out. So really all we need to do is we need to get the handle out of the way and the lock indicator. So for the handle, you're going to lift it. You're going to kind of lift it up. And there you have it. Oh, this one still has its weather seal. All right. Other side did not. So from the factory, you'd have something like this, but it'd be covered in a tar normally that holds these in. I actually have some of that stuff, but I much prefer to do like what this guy did and use tape. Whoever the previous owner was. So we're going to want to take this off. Try not to tear it, because what this is good for is it keeps moisture from kind of collecting inside and rusting stuff, right? Okay. Now what we're going to need to do is put the crank back on. So take the crank you just took off. We're going to put it back on. Want to figure out where I put my tool. There we are. Just screw it back in. Make sure it's sitting, it's splined, so make sure that you're lined up with a spline, and you'll know because it'll fight you if you're not lined up. put this little cover back on. And we need that because we need the ability to roll the window up and down. All right, next thing. These, I mean, they're part of the window felts. I'm not exactly sure what they're called, but there's two of them and they just kind of have little tabs that push in. So if you take the trim tool and kind of get in here, you can start to get it out. There we go. And yes, you can tell this one, it's fried. But there's two of them, so one goes on the inside, one goes on the outside, and they are slightly different. So, inside one's generally going to be in better shape, but your outside one is pretty much toast. The outside one also fits in tighter, so you may have to fight with it a bit more. I may need both my hands for this one. Let's see. There we go. Now I've made some room. I'm trying to do this without frying the paint too much. Anyway, you get the idea. Let me get both my hands on this so I can get it out. So you can see this one's fried badly. And you can also see there's 4 of these little tabs that slide into holes on the door frame itself. Okay. So now we've stripped all this out. The next thing we're going to have to do here, I guess I'll just back you up so you can kind of see it, is we need to pull out the felt that is sitting in the track here. This is what the window actually tracks up in, and when this felt dries out and cracks and shrinks, that's when the window will start getting really hard to crank, and that's when you spray your silicone spray up in here and it makes it better for a little bit, but ultimately you have to just replace it. And it only sits in there, so you can pull it out. Not a big deal. This one's okay. Could have been somebody replaced it, but I have a new one. When you get to the straights that are down in the door, you can just pull up. It'll come out. Just like that. So at this point, we have taken apart all the interior sealing around the window, right? So now we get to the fun part of, well, putting it all back together, right? Big fun time. All right, let me explain the strategy for how we got to shove this back in. Firstly, let's look in here. Hang on, we need a flashlight. Flashlight acquired. Okay, so if you look in here, wow, there's like, sorry, I'm getting distracted, but there's leaves and things, and yeah, so I suspect this had a shattered glass at some point. Anyway, if you take a look, there is a track. I'm not sure there we go. Camera's got it now. There is a track that the window sits in, right? We're going to need to shove down as much of our window felt into each side of the track, so left and right, as far as we can. And then we're going to need to move the window up enough that we can stick our hand inside this hole in either direction, grab that felt, and then we're going to have to pull from the bottom and take our other hand and push from the top to get the felt to the end of the track. There is, see that? That's the end of your felt track. And if you bought a kit that is made specifically for this vehicle, it's going to be set up like that, where it's only going to be just long enough to go down either to the end of the track on either side. All right, so I need both hands to do this. But here is our replacement felt. I don't have a part number. I bought a kit from, gosh, I don't remember where now. It's been a while. But we're going to pull it out. We're going to push it in. And you'll know where your corners are because the corners, let me get this out of the bag. I'll show you. All right, you'll know that you have a corner because you see this. It's going to have cuts so it has flexibility so it can bend without kinking. There's two of these sections like this. They correspond to these corners here and here. We're not going to need to get this perfect. We need to get it close enough, again, so that when we crank this window up, we can then pull from the bottom. What you can do to help shove it in is spray some silicone spray down the tracks, and that'll make it much easier, for at least a little bit, to slide this felt down the track so we get it in far enough and then pull it out. Unfortunately, I can't think of a good camera angle where you guys could actually see what I'm doing. So you'll be able to sort of see what I'm doing over here. And we're just gonna have to go from there because unfortunately, there's no good angles on this. One thing you do wanna do, make sure that when you're starting to stick stuff in that this is not twisted like that, because you'll notice that too late, and then when you go to get everything seated, you're going to have to pull half of it out and redo it, which is no bueno, right? So let me go ahead and spray down my tracks. Okay, and then we're going to take one of our sides. We're going to start feeding it through. And we got to feed it as far as we can. Further the better. So that we can actually grip the bottom of this. You guys probably can't see anything past my hat. I apologize, but that's just kind of where we are at the moment. You are trying to twist on me. I don't like it. All right, let's feed you into the track. Come on. Because it's going to get to a certain point, and then you're going to have enough felt sitting in a track that it's not going to want to move. And it gets frustrating. So as the window goes up, you will need to push the track more or less in position as the window goes up. So the window will go up. Remember, without all the junk in the way, the window can move back and forth a little bit. Not a lot of it, but a little bit. So, we're going to start, as you can see, rolling our window up. We're going to kind of shove stuff in. Take her as high as we can. All right, now, yep, we got it far enough. So, check this out. Let me get you on down here. Okay, so here's our hole. And now we can shove in, or we can grab in. We're gonna pop our felt out. We'll roll the window down slightly so we have better room to work. As you can see, I'm able to pull the felt down. But then you're gonna need to look inside. And when you get it about right, so this side's about right, you gotta stop. Because what you're going to notice as you pull is, you know, this gets shorter and shorter and shorter, right? And if you pull it down too far on one side, then what happens is when you go to stick your corner in, the corner won't want to stay. It'll try to pop out on you because it's too tight. So if you need to, you know, pull the felt up slightly to give you the flexibility you need to get your corners to sit snug, right? You don't want them trying to force the window down or not making a good water seal or wind seal. You know, you don't want that. So let's come over to this side. And again, I know you guys can't see a whole lot. Let me get you back up here. I'm going to get you kind of over here. I know it's not as good because there's glass there, but at least you'll be able to see something. So I'm going to reach in here. And, oh, I don't know if we have enough. Let's see. Ow. Okay, got enough now. And it's not particularly easy, but it will move. Okay, now I gotta check, see how I look. So I need another inch or so. There's my inch. Okay, that's actually a little too much on this side, so it's gonna have to come up a little bit. As you can see, I'll bring you around to see it. Here's our corner, right? And it's about lining up with the corner, so that's looking pretty good. Here's our corner. This one might be a little on the short side, but we'll see. And you'll need to make sure that the slack that's going to be here in the middle, that you push off to the left or the right as appropriate. So I'm going to finish getting this kind of settled in, and I'll show you what the final product looks like. Now, once you've more or less got it, and then you're going to get down to the point where you've got to get the seal sitting right. So you see this lip? That looks right. Let's come over here and check the other side. That's not right. That needs to be tucked in, like what we just did. Same thing, check over here. Now your corners are going to want to try to come out a little bit. That's normal. As long as it's not crazy. See, the seal's kind of, it's not going to be uniform. Like right there, it's tucked in too tight. You want to back that off a little bit. And then ultimately, you're going to roll the window up and down and just kind of see how it feels. That's going to tell you a lot on if you got it right or not. And you may have to move the window around to get spots that you couldn't get because the window is in the way. And get those seated. And I'll go ahead and give you a heads up. The seal right here is going to wind up getting pushed around a bit, particularly when we add these felts that go across the top of the door. So anyway, we roll this up, and overall looks pretty good. I want to adjust this a little bit, because what can happen is you seat the seal a little crooked, so then parts of it try to go in further than they should. I mean, you don't have to have it millimeter perfect, but you don't want a situation where one whole lip is shoved in and then the other lip is just kind of pooched out, because then it's not going to do what it's supposed to do. There, that looks better. And then if we want to make sure that we are good to go in here. I know you probably can't see anything, but you want to take your fingers, shove that seal into place, both sides. Like I'm looking right here. I gotta get it all the way down to kind of make sure. But it looks like we got it. So that's That's more or less right. That's what we need. Because now we can roll the window up. And voila, we're good to go. The window moves fairly easily, which is what we want. Next step is we got to add these felts. As I mentioned, these felts that go across the top of the door, they are not the same. See, this one is thicker, right? It stands that thick tall compared to this one, right? That's not the same. The other thing you'll notice is the clips are not in the same place in the middle. So these two cannot go anywhere but where they're supposed to go. They have been keyed via their clips. Just show you a little better what they're going into. Let me get this window down. You can see it over here. See those holes? The tongue on that clip slides in the hole and then you seat it. You just kind of pop it down. And you have that on both sides. Now what can happen is if you're going nuts, stuff like this can happen because this metal is sort of thin. Stuff gets pushed out. If that happens, you can take a screwdriver or something like that, using your finger. Ouch. And you can bend that in a little bit so that it'll seat correctly. So, speaking of that, let's take this screwdriver. You do not want to brace against the glass. Resist that urge. There we go. All right, so in my case, the kind of brass colored clip one, that goes on the inside of the glass. And I'm gonna need both hands to set it, but what I found is there's a metal, this is a metal piece coated by rubber, and you want to stick the metal piece under the seal where it's going to seat on both sides. Because otherwise what happens is it chokes off the window channel and then the window doesn't want to roll. So do that both sides. I'll show you what it looks like once I have it set because I need both hands to do it. Okay, once you have it seated, it's going to look something like this. I may have this wrong. It may be this is supposed to sit inside. Wow, camera's not focusing. It may be it's supposed to sit inside this felt. I found it looking like this, so I'm going to do what I saw. And when I tried to sit it in the felt on the other rear door, which I worked on, it was causing some issues with allowing the window to go up and down. So could have this wrong. We'll see. It's not that hard of an adjustment. You don't have to take anything apart if we got this wrong. And then we're going to do the opposite side, same thing. You'll see this gap here. That's normal. What's supposed to happen is the plastic of the door card is supposed to tuck under this and make it look nice. You know, once you hit near 40 years old, that doesn't happen anymore, but that's what it's supposed to do. And then on the other one, this one facing the outside is going to seat directly on the metal and it'll look much nicer. And here we are. As you can see, seats right on the metal. Looks really nice. And then we test our window. Make sure we can still crank it. And it does what we want it to do. Like so. And for a crank window, it doesn't matter as much, but when you do this up front, where you've got the power windows, if you do it right, it makes the power window go way much faster because there's a lot less resistance after you put the fresh felt in. So anyway, that is how we handle the felt around the window and our felts across the top of the door. You have gotten it done. Congratulations. So again, not sure if we got that right or not. If we didn't, not a huge deal to fix it. So putting the door card back on is the same as taking it off. You're going to need that screw there. Your push pins are probably blown out. You may want to grab new ones if you can find them. Remember, you got to take the crank back off because you got to put the door card on, then put the crank on. There's supposed to be a little plastic pretty piece right here. I guess it's gone on this one. It was on that one over there, but not on this one. Can't really tell because of the carpet piece that goes on the door card. But put all that back in. When you go to put it back on, you're going to need to pull the handle up like this to slide it back in. It will not slide in its resting position. Should I put this moisture barrier back on or not? I'm going to have to see if I have any tape. That's going to determine that. Once we get that done, I'm going to stop for lunch. And after that, we can take care of this guy. All right, there we are. So you see that gap doesn't look nearly as bad now because you've got a door card underneath it. Got everything back on. Put our screw back in. Got our crank back on. Windows up. So this isn't sitting quite right, but I'm going to chalk that up to it being 40 years old, and this might not be quite right reproduction part. It'll be good enough, which is frankly what I'm aiming for. This is a work truck, and you know, the kids like to get hauled around in it too, but the point is, it's not a restoration. It ain't going to be perfect. I don't have the time or the money for that. That's a better candidate for that if I wanted to do it. But even then, probably not. Channel's not big enough to support that kind of an endeavor unless I had a ton of sponsors line up, and they won't. As I said, tiny channel. So, we're all done here, and where I left you, I said that we're going to work on getting this guy out and figuring out what do we got to do to replace him. So we've got some screws, right? These are Phillips. We got one here, one here, one here. These definitely have to come out. Then we have two down here that at a minimum need to be loosened. And then two right here that again at a minimum need to be loosened. And if you need to, you can fold your front bench forward, get access to those. That might give us what we need. Otherwise, we may have to come up here, pop this cover off, and then that's like a T50 right there. We can loosen that up. We're gonna need to take this guy out, or at least loosen him and loosen him. We may or may not need to loosen that guy right there. Same thing about the T50 right here. And there's probably buried down here. You get the carpet out of the way and you fold the bench forward, there's probably some screws down here that need to be loosened up too. So let's do that, and then let's see if that gives us what we need to be able to, number one, pull the old seal out, and number two, get it to where we can get our new seal in. One quick thing though, before you touch anything, make a note of where this is relative to everything. It should be roughly in the middle of our sill plate, but do make a note. Okay, that does matter later. Okay, so this is why I said you got to be careful. I mean, this plastic's old, so it's not happy with being messed about. Skinned it up a little bit, but you can see I've gotten it off. I had to loosen all those screws that I mentioned, but now we're in a place where we can actually pull this seal out, like so. Oh boy, that did not sound good. Yeah, look at that. Okay, guess we'll vacuum that up best we can, and I'll need to come back and readdress that later. So basically, this tucks into a pinch weld, is what goes on here. And another one that's kind of marginal. go. That's how you get her out. Now there's enough. I'm not going to worry about trying to rebuild this. What I may do is get some crap out of the way and hit it with a rust locking paint before I shove everything back together, because that's particularly egregious. This is kind of not great. But honestly, you know, tell you what, I'll go get some rust locking paint in white, and then I can do limited lifts of the seal. It's really, as you can see, at some point I just need to pull the carpet and then just address all of this. There's a couple of spots like that. You'll see when we go to do this up front, passenger side, we've got a pretty crunchy spot right around the belt. See that? So it's a thing when your truck's almost 40 years old. All right, I'm gonna vacuum all this up, and then we're gonna start working on installing our new seal. All right, remember that spot in the middle I talked about? You're gonna start there and then start working your way around. So you can see the ribbed part is what goes over this pinch weld right here. And then you're just gonna work your way around. And if you get it just right, it should fit okay. And then the other end has a hole in it, and it'll fit into this tongue. And that'll be that. You just put all your trim back on and you're done. But if your alignment is off a little bit, well, then you gotta, it's just like what we did with this felt. You're gonna have to shuffle things around until everything sits happily on the pinch weld, and you know, you're good. There's really no other way about it. It's hard for me to do this with one hand, but just kind of push that back. Feed up a little bit more of your seal. Just kind of push it in. That's all you can do. Okay, many sweaty minutes later. I had to take this off a few times, check its size, because as you can see, you got quite a bit of overlap, and the 3 big seals I have are all the same length. So I'm thinking that to save money, the seal company just made them all one size and then sent them to me this way, or they messed up. And at this point, I can't return it, whatever. I'll have to see if this is long enough for the front door when I get there. But you can absolutely, if you have this situation, you can cut the seal. There's no rubber. Well, you can cut it. You may have to get some metal snips right there, but and then tuck this in and you are good to go. And then you want to pull your trim back over the ribbed section of the seal, and you are good to go. So we'll trim that, get our plate back in, we'll get our screws back in, and we'll take a look at, well, how it looks. And there you go. It took just some regular old wire cutters, cut through the little metal bit right here very easily. Got it tucked in, there we go. I'm gonna put everything back together now, and that should be it. The one thing also you do need to do is kind of go along, make sure you didn't miss any spots as far as getting it to seat. I mean, the trim will tell you to an extent. If you can't get the trim over the ribbing, then you probably missed a spot. Let me get this back together and we'll get final results. All right, there we are. Got our trim back in, and our seal looks really good. Got all our screws back in, and when we get out of the truck and look, that looks really good. Probably good for another 35 years. I mean, that seal will get flattened with time, but it's all right. That's another thing. Depending on how your door is adjusted, when you go to close this with a new seal, it may not want to close right. Like, I need to tuck this one in. See how much that sticks out? But that's supposed to be closed. That's no good. This, I can adjust that, but this needs to come in. Anyway, there's our back, right? So doing the other side is exactly identical to what we just did. And I will tackle the front, put it on this video probably tomorrow. See you then. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is a new day. So picking up here on the front door, we got a couple of things to do before we can first get the door card off. So we have a screw right there that needs to come out. We have some screws here. I don't think they need to come out though. I do know there's probably a screw lurking under here, so we can get a pry tool kind of under there, work it, see if we can figure out how to safely get this out without snapping anything. Oof, it does not want to go, so I'll have to work on that with two hands. But we also have, well, we're supposed to have a screw right there, but it looks like I do not have one. But there's supposed to be one there. And like what we saw with the back door, I believe this is a lift it up and then pull it back, because we do need to get it clear of our lock indicator. So I'm gonna dink with this and then I'll kind of show you what I find. I would put the camera on the tripod, but I'm not under any cover right now, and it's hot enough that the camera will overheat if I don't put it in shade. Okay, here's what I found out. I took trim tool, worked it along here, popped out some of the Christmas trees. And then over here, there were more Christmas trees, and they were really, really stuck in there good. But they popped out. I pushed the lock indicator down so that that would not be in the way. And I only took out really this screw here, this screw there. I gave up on messing with this because it really didn't feel like it wanted to go. I was afraid I was going to break it. And now that I've got those pops out, the only thing holding us is the door handle, which you saw in the previous parts of the video. Just pull the handle up and then you can finagle the rest of the door card off. Bear in mind you're going to have an electrical connector here, right? I took out all the screws down here because I was trying to figure out if they mattered. And this one, none of them do. They are two distinct pieces. This is independent of this upper door card. So you do not need to mess with anything down here, unless of course you need to service a speaker or something like that. Okay, lied about the speaker location, that's up here. But here is our electrical connector, and you're gonna notice it's screwed in. So there's two, I think just two screws, and they need to come off, and then this electrical will come loose and you can separate it from the door card. That's the way you need to do it. So small correction on the controls here. It turns out there are 3 screws, 1, 2, and 3. But once you get those out, it releases your controls and then you're free, right? So, and it turns out I missed a screw there, but this is for the bottom. I was just wondering why I couldn't get the bottom off. Now I know why. I missed a screw. Okay, so second verse, same as the first. We have done this routine before. We're going to get power to the window. We're going to roll it down. We're going to pull the felt out, just like we did in the back. We're going to take care of the windlace, or whatever you call that. It came off. One side of it already just flat out came off because it's really well attached to the door card, and we'll have to pull that out. carefully so we don't screw up any of the clips. But it's the same kind of deal. You know, we need to get this down, pull junk out, grease stuff up. And same basic procedure that you saw me do with the back doors. And I'll go ahead and make a note. If you need to replace your triangle window, I can't remember the official name for that. To replace this is a big job. You have to loosen this post from inside the door. You have to pull this and the glass out as one assembly. And then there is a bolt down there that you have to remove. That lets you take the glass out. And only then can you actually change out this triangle gasket. And because this one is in good shape, and because it is such an enormous pain in the butt to do that, I'm not doing it, and I'm not going to film it. I know all this because I did it over on the driver's side when I had more time on my hands, and it was a massive job. Alternatively, what you can try to do, if you're really, really good, is you get your tools in through a couple of access holes that you have. Take that bolt loose while everything's still in. And if you do that, you can take the glass out alone right here, right now, and that will allow you, with difficulty, to change out this gasket. And then you have to put it all back together, and there's springs and stuff in there, so doable, yeah. Probably you take the speaker out, you got really good visibility, you can make it happen. As I mentioned, I'm not doing it, but I am telling you this, so if you need to try and do it, that's how. All right, let's get stuff cleaned out here, and if there's any major differences, you know, I'll film it, but otherwise this is rinse and repeat of what we already did on the back. A couple of quick notes here. I've got the door card sitting on the little pocket over here to act as a shelf so I can work on this. This is going to fight you when you go to reinstall it. You're just going to have to kind of wiggle it in. 3 screws, plastic on plastic, so it does not need to be tight. Be gentle. And when it comes to this door seal, this window felt, it's going to fight you more. It has one distinct corner, it needs to go over on this side. You're going to wind up with extra material down inside the window well, just kind of hanging there. I'm guessing this is a multi-purpose felt. And I didn't stab it hard, but I used this big flat blade to shove it in a position. Same basic strategy as the rear windows, though it did fight me a bit more. Windlace or whatever this is, you know, clip it in. That side I went ahead and clipped directly to the door. The other side clips to the door card, so I went ahead and replaced that. So that's one less thing I got to fight with. We've got bent clip. Let's see if I can straighten that. Okay. All right, so looks like that one's missing, but oh, some of them just popped off is what happened. So we're just going to go ahead and shove this straight back on. It looks like what they wanted you to do is kind of slide it one way or another. Yeah, no. Okay. So we're going to pop this straight back on. Remember, you do need to wiggle it around this handle first, and you're going to need to get it up over your lock indicator hump. And that should be it for this part, and then we can actually tackle the door seal. And there we go. That takes care of that. Our actual window seal. And now there is this additional seal up here that requires the use of some sticky tape that can be pulled and removed, and I am going to replace this one because it's kind of torched. It's got one, remember right, it's got one little Christmas tree over here. Yeah, there it is. And then the rest of it is sticky taped. Ooh, somebody went hog wild with the sticky tape. This is gonna be real fun. All right, let me fight with this. If it was clean, it wouldn't be a big deal, but this has been here since it was repainted. So it's been here a hot minute. Let me see what I can do with it. As you can see, new seal, double-sided tape, Christmas tree to anchor you at one end, and the rest of it is just you laying out your sticky tape. So pro tip would be, don't try to lay out all your tape at once, because this is long enough. It's going to flop somewhere, it'll stick somewhere, and then you lose your stickiness. So start up here, peel this loose a little bit, you know, about there. Get this in, get that stuck, and then keep peeling the tape back and working it in, peel it back, work it in, peel it back, work it in, all the way down until you're done. And at least in my case, I'll have an excellent witness mark of where this is supposed to go because of this insane glue that I had to get off. As a reminder, before you go to pull this seal, you're going to need to lift the 4 screws that hold in your sill plate. In my case, no problem. I have some minor rust repair I need to take care of. Also, there are 4 screws in this central column you need to loosen. So there's 2 kind of above where the belt runs, if the camera will focus. Okay, camera, you felt life. There we go. And then there are 2 more at the bottom. Same kind of setup. So you have 4 there that you're gonna have to loosen. There's this kick panel, and it's held in with a Christmas tree. It goes right there, so you just pop that out. Then you need to take out 1 there, 1 here, and 1 here. Get all those. Everything should be nice and loose, and you should be able to pull this seal out without too much of a fight. One more quick note before you do your installation. Remember, we found out all of these were the same length, right? We figured that out, and we found that in the back we had to trim them to make them fit. Now the front, I believe, is bigger, so I don't think, I know, scary word, I don't think we're gonna need to trim the front, but we're gonna find out. But same basic deal, pick a center point at the bottom pinch weld here, and then just start working your way around. Nice and slow. See what you come up with once you get back around. All right, so we have a little overlap up here too, so we'll snip it about right there. Tuck one side in the other. And then we are finally done with seals on this truck. All the big ones anyway. So it needs a new front windshield. It's delaminating, it's not leaking, but it's got to get done. As you saw, I've got a little bit of rust repair here and there I got to do. That's a few months down the road. Taking care of what I can take care of right now. I got other bigger things I got to fight with. Like that again. Some more odds and ends to do the Miata. But all right, let's get this knocked out. And with that, we are done. We've got our seal in. It looks mighty nice. Got the trim back together. It looks mighty nice when the camera is not being fuzzy. Got our kick panel back in. We got that in. We got our window felt in. We got it all back together. We don't have any extra parts left over. It's always a good thing. All right, that's gonna be a wrap for this video.